In the name of the one holy and undivided Trinity. Amen. You may be seated. Good morning.
Good morning.
I always love Scout Sunday. It is one of the things I look forward to every year. It's so wonderful to see all of you and to have all of you here with us and worshiping this morning. It was interesting. We just returned from Camp McDowell yesterday. We were hosting, as I mentioned earlier, our diocesan convention. And while I was there, I ran into someone from my hometown in Selma, and we had grown up together. And he's now actually working with the troop that I grew up in, Troop 26. And he's working, and he was telling me, we were talking about growing up in scouting, and he reminded me that my picture and my brother's picture, they have a little wall in their scout house where all the eagles are memorialized, and he was telling me that it was still up there, and I was like, wow, and just another reminder is, I was preparing for this morning and Scout Sunday of how much a part of scouting has been in my life over the years and continues to be, and I'm just so thrilled with having everyone here this morning. It really brought back some memories. Well, every time about this year, I get an email from the National Eagle Scout Association. It's a reminder. It always says happy anniversary date or something, but reminds me that my board of review date was on January 25th, 1988. Kind of fun. I always reach out, and when I got it this year, I took a screenshot of it and sent it to one of my best friends who shares the same date because we got ours together. I said, wow, you believe it's been 38 years? But the thing is, whenever we do get together and we start to tell stories like so many of us do, so many of those stories include our time in scouting. And what you're doing, your participation in scouting, you're building lifelong memories. You may not realize it in the moment, but these are going to be some of the best times of your life that you're going to get to look back on. Like many of you, I attended summer camp. I went to Camp Tuckabashie, which is down near Prattville, because I was in the Tuckabashie area conference. Always loved camp, getting to go canoeing and swimming, earning merit badges. I was always excited to go off camping, hiking, places like Horseshoe Bend, the Odom Trail. And all scouting is all of that. It's all that fun stuff, right? But in scouting, you're also called to something a little more. In scouting, not only are you called to have fun, but you are also called to a position of leadership and service. See, as some of you may know or may not, but as you navigate the various ranks through scouting on your way to Eagle, part of the requirements include completion of service hours. The higher the rank, the more service hours are required. This ultimately culminates in the planning, leading, and implementation of an Eagle Scout service project. Many of you are familiar with the playground out in our garden. That was an Eagle Scout service project. Mine involved working on landscaping at a local elementary school in my hometown. As we continue to hear Jesus deliver his sermon on the Mount this morning, he is calling his listeners to service as well. Last Sunday, we heard Jesus deliver the Beatitudes, that series of statements meant to instill hope in a people living under oppression, a people dealing with a government that did not recognize them as citizens, really didn't recognize them as fully human. That day, Jesus offered them hope and a promise that God would vindicate them with blessings. So now today in our reading, he's making a turn in his sermon where he's raising two fundamental questions of life. Who are we, and what are we to do? Now, at the time that this gospel, the Gospel of Matthew, was written, many scholars believe also that it was a community of writers, not one person named Matthew. The Jewish people, what was going on in their life at the time, they had just endured the destruction of Jerusalem, the destruction of the temple. They're feeling lost. And as a result of this devastation and the harsh treatment that was being inflicted on them by the Roman authorities, this Jewish community was experiencing internal conflict, was wrestling with what does it mean to be Jewish? What is our future? What is the future of Judaism going to look like? Reading from Matthew begins with Jesus comparing his followers to salt, posing a question: what happens when salt has lost its taste? Now, in the first century, this salt was a symbol of covenant. And the authors of Matthew, like many in the first century, believed that the apocalypse, and the apocalypse in that sense of what the world will look like when the kingdom of heaven and earth are reconciled, they believed that time was near. So this reference to salt losing its saltiness was pointing towards that final judgment from God. So what were they to do? And to answer this question, Jesus reassures them of God's covenant with them. And how does he reassure them of that covenant? He calls them to action. He calls them to action by naming them the light of the world. God entered into a covenant with Israel. And even amid these bleak and dark circumstances, God would be faithful. Jesus tells them that they are the light of the world. And he calls them to be a light to the nations, to be a city set on a hill, a city that cannot be hidden. He tells them that a light not placed under a bushel, but set on a lampstand that's going to give light to everyone. As I was thinking about this, I couldn't help but think about my time in scouting and thinking about, so what are scouts to do? While scouts today are unlikely to endure these same harsh and oppressive conditions of first century Israel, they are called to a way of life. Scouts are called into service. The life of a scout is one that is embodied in caring for those who need help. Older scouts mentor to younger members. They encourage one another in outdoor activities. They motivate each other to advance in rank. But I think most importantly, scouts model for us good citizenship. This citizenship, I think, is encapsulated in the Scout Oath and the Scout Law. And I hope you would indulge me. Could I invite all my scouts to stand? I would like to recite the Scout Oath and the Scout Law. And it's been a while since I've done it, so if I get it wrong, y'all do not hesitate to correct me. And everyone who's involved, thank you. All right. On my honor, I will do my best to do my duty to God and my country and to obey the Scout Law, to help other people at all times, to keep myself physically strong, mentally awake, and morally straight. In the law, a scout is trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent. Thank you. Thank you. That's who a scout is. A scout is trustworthy, someone who tells the truth, someone who keeps their promises. A scout is loyal, someone who shows care for their families and friends. They are leaders. Scouts are helpful. I see them volunteering out in the community all the time. They're friendly. Friendly to everyone, regardless of differences. They're courteous. They are very polite. They're very kind. They follow that good rule of treating others like they want to be treated. They're obedient. Follow the rules established by family, school. They're cheerful. Always the sunny side up. Allison always accuses me of that all the time. They are brave. They're not afraid to face difficult situations, even when they are afraid. They're clean in body, mind, and spirit. They keep their surroundings. They're good stewards of nature, of the earth. And they're reverent. They are faithful in their duties. And they are respectful of other people's beliefs. When I entered into conversation with St. Joseph's, as we were discerning our future together, I cannot tell you how excited I was when I learned of your support for Scouting. Scouting has had and continues to have profound influence on my life and work. And you all are doing some amazing work. You are a model for us. You model for us what it means to strive to be those lights set on a hill. And I hope that as you continue to recite the Scout Oath and the law, that they will serve as reminders of your call to be salt, to be friends and colleagues bound together in covenant with one another and with your community. And please know that we are all here to support you on that journey. Thank you, and thank you to all the parents and adult volunteers and the ones who get them to where they're supposed to be. We thank you also for all that you do. Thank you, and amen.